right away. Well, now that we've done a little bit more, let me show you that same exact casual method again, but now you'll sort of understand what I'm doing as I'm doing it quickly. All right, but it's really the same exact stuff. So we've already done this one, so do not be alarmed. And I'll actually even do this to make it a little bit more precise. If a little lumpy. Okay. So you have a sphere. I'm going to put a light source, say, here. These are our arbitrary locations. Oh wait, you know what? Actually, I don't want to put it there. Let's put it down here. Now, one thing you're kind of guessing at is, actually, you guys tell me, Mads, how much am I looking down on the sphere?
Like 25.
Oh, okay. So I can't even use the third and half thing, but, okay, let's say that's my touch point. If I'm looking down at a 25-degree angle, I might make it a little bit more than that because, if I'm envisioning a 25-degree ellipse here, that would give me an answer kind of like this. Yeah, right about there. So I'm going to envision a touch point right about there, and I'm going to envision a drift line that looks something like this. That would be half. That would be a third. So we'll split the difference. So you guys, this is a guesstimation, but that's about a 25-degree ellipse. So that means I'm looking down at about a 25-degree angle. You see what I mean? So it's casual, but it's actually pretty darn correct, considering how casual it is. All right, now, again, maybe just watch this, you guys. Make sure that you know what I'm doing. Tangent point for the bounding box. Tangent point for the bounding box. So these are going to be the outer limits for the ellipse. I can find the major axis by doing this. All right. So this is going to be the angle of my major. Okay, now once I've got that, I can draw from the light source through the center. And that's going to find this location right here. It's completely coincidental that it hit right on the circumference. That has no relation to anything. It just worked out that way. I draw a 90-degree angle, and this is the angle of my major or my minor axis, even if it's not the length yet. Everybody okay up to that point? Yeah.
How did you get the little red tick for the minor?
For the minor, I went from the light source through the center of the sphere until it hit the major. Yeah, Joe.
With the top rad, or the top line from the rad touching the what do you call it?
The drip line.
Yeah, the drip line. Is that a guessed tangent point?
Yeah, it's a guess tangent. It's a good guess, but it's a guess.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, you guys, this is the casual method. This is not the mechanical method you're going to use on your. Actually, I guess for the ground ellipse you don't even need it, but you'll do it essentially the same way. You're going to take it and turn it until it hits the ellipse. There's a little tiny bit of guesswork involved, but it's a pretty small guess. Yeah.
So you guesstimated the touch point?
Yes. Again, you guys, this is the casual method, so I'm not doing all the mechanics. Let me show you what I mean. For instance, I know that if I draw a perpendicular to this line, I'm going to get something kind of like this. Okay, you guys, eyes up for a sec. Eyes up, eyes up, eyes up. Okay, So I know that this, actually it's not quite right. Let me rotate it a little bit more. So I can draw that perpendicular plane to the light source. I can estimate the halfway point, and I can estimate where those tangents are gonna be, and then I can go, okay, if I draw from there to the light source, does that make sense? Yeah, it's close enough. You see what I mean? This is the casual approach. This is the quick, I don't wanna screw with all the crazy mechanics, so I'm just gonna sketch it in. But what it's giving me is it's giving me this. I know my shadow can't go outside of this line. I know my shadow can't go outside of this line. I know it can't go outside of this line or this line. Yeah,
Like, when you got your minor, it's like not in the center, why is it scooted so far out?
okay, this is just the bounding box. This is not, it's not,
Yeah, but like in relation to getting the guesstimated terminator line, like how did you?
oh, why is this so off?
No, like, did you just like say from the middle to that, that's what that would look like?
That's
Or
about
just
what that,
all-
yeah,
okay.
that's exactly what I did. I guesstimated, like, yeah, the curvature would be about like that, so that's about where the tangent
Okay,
points
just because I
are.
see like a red line from the light source to the minor, I didn't know.
That was through here to find the center of the cast shadow,
Okay.
yeah. Yes, kind of.
How did you find the bottom test plane?
I knew it was gonna be on this vertical, and I just came up a little bit. Cause it's usually, looking down at a shallow enough angle like a 25 degrees, it's not gonna be that far off the bottom. Now mechanically, you guys are gonna wanna use that hemisphere method I showed you, okay? But for this is the casual version, so I'm just gonna wing it. Yeah, Elizabeth.
Is it generally better to have your RAD below the drift?
No, all this means is if the radiation point is down here, all it means is that my light is in front of the sphere. I could put it here, like, okay, you guys take a look at this. Do you see that if I put it right there, I'm putting it a lot further back? That's all that means, is I'm choosing where to put my light. Yeah, Gavin?
If you do put it back there, the bounding box won't complete itself?
The boundary box is gonna go this direction then. It's gonna go off the page.
Yeah.
It's gonna be this
There won't be
big,
a-
long.
There won't be a line to terminate the boundary box like there is in that one. is what I'm saying.
Well, there'll be a line, it'll be off the page though.
Okay,
It'll be in my lap.
like way out, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be way off, because here's what he's talking about. If this is the radiation point, well, now I've got lines going this direction and that direction, and they're not gonna get cut off, like, they're gonna get cut off over here. I'm gonna have to back my chair up, to draw where they get cut off. I'm drawing them where I drew them just to keep everything on the page for you. Now, does that mean that you can't do something stranger like that? Go for it, knock yourself out. But for clarity's sake, for 30 of you, I want to keep everything on the page. Yeah.
So if it extended that far out, that doesn't necessarily mean that your shadow would just go off the page, would it?
Your shadow probably will be going off the bottom of your drawing, yeah. It doesn't mean absolutely, but probably. Okay, so you guys, based upon what we've done so far, I know my major has to be along here. I know it has to be symmetrical. I know this is as far out as my minor can go right here, so I'm actually gonna bring my minor in a little bit, and then I'm gonna bisect it across the major, or double it across the major. So I'm gonna guesstimate those two lines for my minor axis. Okay, now that's a guess, but it's a good guess.
So why did you shrink the minor line?
Because remember, when you may have a bounding box that does this, but it doesn't mean that your ellipse is hitting at these 4 points.
Oh, okay.
Your minor could end up here, here and here, and they're off angle. You know, they're probably, in fact, most of the time, your minor and major measurements are not going to be on the bounding box. They're gonna be inside of it. But at some point, like, let me give you an example. I might have a major, let's say I might have my minor here, but it might sweep out and hit the bounding box right there. You know, so you'll have to kind of, you guys, a lot of the casual approach, it becomes more effective as you learn more about how to do it mechanically, but I want you to know this method, because honestly, for the rest of your career, this is probably the one you're gonna use, not the mechanical one, because it takes too long. You know, and that's not gonna be the kind of job you have, you're gonna be doing that in Maya. This you're gonna be doing on a napkin. You know, now I'm gonna do the same thing on the major, like maybe I'll put the major right about there, just a little bit off of the bounding box, and then double it in. And I get something like that. Now you should be kind of conscious of this touch point, because your ellipse is going to be, your shadow, your cast shadow is gonna be rotating kind of around that point. So you should sort of be conscious of that, yeah.
So you just kind of decided how long you wanted the majors to be?
Well, no, what I did was I know my major can't be out here, and I can't be like in here. So I'm guesstimating that, okay, with these tangent lines, the light rays are gonna cut it off, like say right about there. And then if I take that and I double it, I get this mark. And, you know, then I just draw it in like that. So that's my rough version of the cast shadow. Any questions before I go on to the form shadow? Yeah, Joe?
How did you guess how far the light ray would be off on the left edge of the ellipse?
This one?
Yeah.
This is not a great answer, but honestly, it's an experience thing. It's like, this is the absolute outer limit, but I know it's not gonna be like that. You know, because then I'd be cutting into the sphere too much. You know, there's a little bit of three-dimensional quality where it's like, okay, it's usually just a little bit inside that line. What I'd say is for the casual one, trust me on it, when we go to calculate it out, I can prove it to you, but,
Okay.
So
yeah.
are we going to be doing a full mechanical?
Yeah, and I'll show you that next.
Okay.